destroy Steve Harvey. And I'm going, wait, we're doing comedy. You know, we're not rappers. This ain't a beef.
I'm going to completely destroy Steve Harvey. When those brutal words echoed across the internet, the entire entertainment industry collectively held its breath. But nobody, absolutely nobody, expected the devastating fallout that was about to follow. Are we watching a simple comedy dispute, or are we witnessing the messy public dismantling of a multi-million-dollar Hollywood empire? The streets are talking, and the word is that Steve Harvey is reportedly losing his absolute mind behind closed doors. The suit-wearing, mustache-flaunting relationship guru is officially flaring up after Katt Williams brought forward some of the most shocking, jaw-dropping allegations regarding Marjorie Harvey's mysterious past. For years, Steve told you how to act like a lady and think like a man, but right now, fans think he's the one being played. What began as petty jokes about Steve borrowing stand-up material has suddenly taken a dark, deeply personal turn. Katt didn't just cross the line. He erased it, hinting at private marital secrets that have sent gossip blogs into overdrive. Is the perfect Hollywood marriage just a beautifully packaged lie? Why is Steve suddenly so panicked, reacting with rare, defensive fury on every microphone he can find? The carefully constructed mask is slipping, old cheating rumors are aggressively resurfacing, and the internet is demanding answers. Grab your popcorn and lock in, because we are diving deep into the wildest celebrity crisis of the year. What did Katt actually know, and why is Steve running scared? Let's get into it. The entertainment industry has always been built on a foundation of carefully constructed illusions. But what happens when someone pulls back the curtain completely? We all know Steve Harvey as the ultimate authority on love, success, and family values. He is the man who turned a stand-up career into a global syndication empire, selling millions of books to people looking for guidance. But according to the latest whispers circulating through the darkest corners of Hollywood, that entire persona might be facing its biggest existential threat. The catalyst for this absolute chaos is none other than Katt Williams, a man who has made it his personal mission to disrupt the Hollywood hierarchy. When Katt sat down for his now infamous media run, people expected him to take shots at the comedy circuit. Nobody truly anticipated that he would aim his crosshairs directly at Marjorie Harvey. The allegations were subtle at first, masked in heavy sarcasm and inside jokes, but the implication was loud and clear. He effectively questioned the very timeline and nature of Steve and Marjorie's relationship, hinting that there are layers to this power couple that the public was never meant to see. The reaction behind the scenes was almost instantaneous, and sources claim it was far from calm. Steve Harvey is a man who fiercely protects his brand, and his brand is directly tied to his image as a devoted, unshakable husband. To have a loose cannon like Katt Williams publicly question his domestic reality is the ultimate nightmare for a media mogul of his scale. For the first time in years, we are seeing cracks in that cool, collected exterior. The corporate suits are reportedly sweating, emergency public relations meetings are being held in the middle of the night, and Steve is said to be completely furious. To understand why this is causing such a massive panic, you have to look at the sheer scale of the controversy. This isn't just about two comedians trading insults on a stage anymore. This has evolved into a full-scale digital investigation, with millions of internet detectives digging up old public records, archived interviews, and forgotten court documents. The public is no longer just laughing at the jokes. They are actively looking for the receipts. Every single word Katt Williams uttered is being treated like a clue in a massive celebrity puzzle. The narrative surrounding Marjorie Harvey has always been one of luxury, fashion, and high society. She is presented as the elegant matriarch who saved Steve from his darkest days and helped him build his current fortune. But the internet is currently obsessing over a completely different version of history. Critics and gossip vloggers are aggressively reviving old stories about her previous marriages and her alleged connections to some of the most notorious figures of the 90s underground entertainment world. The names from her past are resurfacing with a vengeance, most notably her former husband, Jim Townsend. For those who don't know the history, Townsend was a high-profile figure who ended up serving substantial time in federal prison before receiving a presidential commutation. The sudden resurgence of his name, alongside allegations that he and Marjorie remained in close contact far longer than anyone previously admitted, has added an entirely new layer of suspicion to the current drama. It creates a stark, uncomfortable contrast against the pristine, wholesome image that the Harvey family showcases on daytime television. Steve's immediate response to these escalating rumors did very little to calm the waters. In fact, many industry insiders believe his initial reactions made things significantly worse. When a celebrity of his stature breaks character to address a critic, it usually signals that the critic struck a nerve. During a public appearance at a charity event, Steve reportedly let his frustration boil over, making it clear that he was deeply offended by the disrespect being thrown at his wife. But instead of shutting down the conversation, his defensive tone only gave the internet more ammunition to keep pressing. The problem with trying to suppress a rumor in the digital age is that the pushback always generates more curiosity. Millions of people who originally missed Katt Williams' comments suddenly flooded YouTube and TikTok to find out exactly what caused Steve Harvey to flare up so dramatically. The algorithm did the rest, pushing older, unverified gossip videos back into the mainstream feed. Suddenly, a dispute that should have lasted 48 hours turned into a weeks-long cultural obsession that shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. What makes this specific situation so fascinating is the contrast between the public defense and the alleged internal panic. On camera, Steve and Marjorie continue to post glamorous vacation photos, smiling side by side as if nothing is wrong. They are projecting an image of absolute unity and unbothered wealth. But behind that wall of expensive security and public relations teams, the tension is reportedly at an all-time high. Sources close to the production of Steve's various shows claim that his demeanor has noticeably shifted, becoming far more guarded and less accessible to staff. The speculation has reached a point where even routine business decisions are being analyzed through the lens of this controversy. People are questioning whether certain business moves or public absences are direct results of the stress caused by these non-stop allegations. The internet has created a runaway train of commentary, and at the center of it is a man who built his career on having all the answers. Now, faced with questions he cannot easily answer without validating his critics, Steve appears to be trapped in a classic public relations dilemma. We also have to consider the role of the wider entertainment community in this unfolding drama. Hollywood thrives on alliances, but it also thrives on silence. When Katt Williams broke that unspoken rule of silence, he created a highly uncomfortable situation for many prominent figures who run in the same social circles as the Harveys. Some creators and industry peers are noticeably hesitating to take a definitive side, choosing instead to watch the fallout from a safe distance. This lack of vocal support from longtime industry friends has not gone unnoticed by sharp-eyed fans. The entire situation highlights a much larger phenomenon in modern celebrity culture, which is the extreme fragility of a curated reputation. For over a decade, Steve Harvey has been the go-to advisor for millions of people worldwide, telling them how to navigate their personal relationships with wisdom and authority. His books were treated like relationship Bibles. But when the public begins to suspect that the author's own home might be built on shifting sands, the credibility of the entire commercial empire comes into question. The rumors have also triggered a wave of nostalgic analysis, with users going back to watch the couple's joint interviews from years ago. Moments that were once viewed as sweet and romantic are now being re-examined with extreme skepticism. Podcasters are pausing clips to analyze body language, micro-expressions, and the specific wording Steve used when describing how he first met Marjorie. The prevailing theory among the cynical online crowd is that the timeline they gave the world doesn't quite align with the reality of their early days together. As the digital noise continues to amplify, the financial implications of this image crisis are starting to become a serious topic of discussion among media executives. Brand partnerships, syndication deals, and future media ventures all rely heavily on the public's trust and affection for the star. If the narrative shifts permanently from lovable TV host to a man hiding massive domestic turmoil, corporate sponsors might start distancing themselves. This economic reality is likely what is driving the fierce behind-the-scenes pushback more than anything else. Despite the lack of concrete evidence supporting the most extreme claims, the court of public opinion doesn't usually wait for a trial. In the world of viral commentary, perception is reality. If enough people believe that there is a hidden truth behind Katt Williams' wild statements, then the damage is already done. Steve Harvey is finding out the hard way that no matter how much money or influence you possess, you cannot easily control the collective imagination of the internet once a scandalous narrative catches fire. The sheer volume of content being generated around this feud is unprecedented. Every single day, dozens of new reaction videos, deep dive essays, and alleged insider updates are uploaded to the internet, racking up millions of collective views. It has become a self-sustaining ecosystem of gossip, where one small rumor breeds 5 new theories. And as long as the public remains completely fascinated by the potential downfall of a Hollywood giant, the creators will keep feeding the beast. The focus of the digital investigation has now shifted from the initial comedy insult toward a highly detailed examination of the couple's financial and personal legal structures. Rumors are swirling about secret agreements, shifting asset distributions, and intense discussions with high-powered attorneys. While these reports remain entirely unverified, they reflect the growing public belief that something substantial is happening away from the cameras. The mystery has taken on a life of its own, and the public is refusing to let it go. This brings us to the critical turning point of the entire scandal, where the line between online chatter and real-world consequences begins to blur completely. The pressure is mounting on all sides, and the strategy of simply staying quiet and hoping it goes away appears to be failing miserably. The internet demands a definitive statement, a breakdown of the facts, or a dramatic move that settles the debate once and for all. Instead, what the public received next was a series of leaked reports and anonymous insider accounts that completely shifted the direction of the controversy, blowing the entire scandal wide open. The floodgates of information have officially burst open, and what is pouring out is a chaotic mixture of leaked reports, anonymous insider testimonies, and financial speculation that paints a devastating picture of the Harvey empire. According to these unverified whispers escaping the highest levels of Hollywood production agencies, the internal panic is no longer just about hurt feelings. The real crisis is centered around the terrifying reality of a massive corporate fallout, as major network executives are reportedly holding closed-door meetings to discuss the future viability of the entire Harvey Entertainment brand. Insiders claim that the sudden, intense focus on Marjorie Harvey's past has caused an immediate freeze on several upcoming lifestyle and media projects that were quietly being developed behind the scenes. For years, the strategy was to gradually transition the family brand into a multi-generational lifestyle dynasty, with high-end fashion lines, luxury travel ventures, and digital media platforms led by the couple. But corporate sponsors and risk assessment teams are notoriously terrified of any association with the criminal underworld, no matter how distant or historical that connection might be. The internet's obsession with uncovering old federal court documents regarding her previous marriage has sent shockwaves through corporate boardrooms. Marketing executives are reportedly reviewing morality clauses in existing contracts, terrified that further investigative reporting from independent bloggers might reveal even more uncomfortable truths. The nightmare scenario for the networks is that the wholesome, family-friendly image used to sell everything from daytime talk shows to prime-time game shows will become permanently toxic in the eyes of middle American consumers. While the legal and corporate teams scramble to contain the bleeding, the spending habits of the family have also come under intense public scrutiny. Viral commentary channels are now dedicating entire hours to dissecting the mind-boggling scale of luxury that Marjorie showcases on her digital feeds. From private jets chartered for casual weekend shopping trips to Paris, to an endless parade of custom haute couture gowns that cost more than an average American home, the sheer opulence is staggering. In the past, this extreme display of wealth was celebrated by fans as the ultimate realization of the American dream. It was the visual proof that Steve's hard work had elevated his family to the absolute pinnacle of global high society. But in the current climate of suspicion, that same lavish spending is being viewed through a much more cynical lens. Critics are openly questioning the financial structures supporting this level of luxury, raising wild theories about asset protection and how the wealth is legally distributed between the couple. The narrative being pushed by anonymous online sources suggests that the extreme materialism is actually a source of massive internal friction. Rumors claim that financial advisors have repeatedly warned that the current rate of consumption is unsustainable, especially if mainstream television syndication revenue begins to decline. Yet, according to these same unverified reports, the spending has not stopped because maintaining the public illusion of unlimited, unbothered wealth is considered the only way to project strength to their enemies. To add fuel to this raging fire, Several imaginary leaked memos allegedly from senior staff members have started making the rounds on underground gossip forums. These documents describe a highly toxic workplace environment where employee non-disclosure agreements are aggressively enforced by teams of high-priced attorneys. The memos paint a picture of an environment where staff are subjected to extreme pressure to monitor the internet for negative press, with heads reportedly rolling every time a new viral rumor gains traction on social media. Public reaction has shifted from amused curiosity to absolute outrage as these narratives spread across the digital landscape. Comment sections on every major platform are completely flooded with angry demands for transparency, with many former fans expressing deep disappointment in the man they once trusted for life advice. The hypocrisy of a relationship expert allegedly living under extreme marital distress and corporate fear is proving to be a highly potent storyline that the public refuses to stop consuming. The backlash is also manifesting in a coordinated effort by online communities to boycott products and programs associated with the star. While the actual financial impact of these internet boycotts is difficult to measure in the short term, the psychological impact on the production teams is undeniably severe. Every single promotional post, routine announcement, or charitable update shared by the brand is immediately hijacked by thousands of comments mentioning Katt Williams, Jim Townsend, or the leaked phone calls. This digital siege has created a situation where the family is effectively trapped inside a golden cage of their own making. They cannot engage with the audience without being bombarded by the controversy, yet they cannot completely disappear from public view without validating the theory that they are hiding from the truth. The pressure has reportedly led to screaming matches behind closed doors at their primary residence, with security staff being ordered to implement a total communication blackout for everyone entering the property. As the public backlash continues to intensify, independent content creators are taking the investigation into their own hands, using advanced digital tools to track the movement of corporate entities registered under the family name. These amateur financial sleuths claim to have discovered sudden shifts in property titles, shell company registrations, and offshore financial movements that occurred almost immediately after the explosive podcast interview aired. While these claims are entirely speculative and lack professional verification, they are being treated as absolute fact by an audience hungry for a definitive downfall. The phenomenon of the internet turning unverified financial data into a massive public grievance is a terrifying new reality for modern celebrities. It proves that once a specific threshold of public distrust is crossed, every single action is interpreted as a sign of guilt. Steve Harvey's historical speeches about grinding, securing wealth, and protecting one's estate are now being replayed alongside these wild financial theories to mock his current predicament. Even more damaging are the alleged quotes emerging from anonymous Hollywood peers who claim to have witnessed the internal dynamics of the relationship firsthand. One particularly viral report quoted an unnamed daytime television producer who claimed that everyone in the industry has known for years that the public persona of the marriage was a completely manufactured product designed solely for commercial exploitation. The source allegedly stated that the couple lives completely separate lives behind the scenes, coming together only when the cameras are rolling to maintain the multi-million-dollar illusion. Another anonymous quote, attributed to a prominent figures in the urban comedy circuit, suggested that Katt Williams was simply the only person brave enough to say out loud what everyone else whispers about at exclusive Hollywood industry parties. This perception that the industry is secretly laughing at Steve while pretending to respect him is said to be the absolute most painful aspect of the entire situation for the veteran entertainer. His pride, which has always been a defining characteristic of his public identity, is taking an absolute beating on a global stage. The collective public consciousness has now evolved to a point where they are actively looking for signs of a physical or emotional breakdown during Steve's mandatory public appearances. Viewers of his long-running game show are analyzing every single episode with a magnifying glass, looking for moments where his voice cracks, his smile falters, or his famous wit seems slightly delayed. Every perceived imperfection is immediately clipped, uploaded to TikTok, and used as visual evidence that the stress is slowly destroying his health and composure. The commentary surrounding these clips has become incredibly brutal, with users using harsh humor and biting sarcasm to tear down his legacy. The internet has completely stripped away the reverence that usually accompanies a veteran entertainer of his status, replacing it with a ruthless desire for maximum entertainment value at his expense. It is a stark reminder of how quickly the tides of public favor can turn in the digital age, transforming a beloved cultural icon into a target of universal mockery in a matter of weeks. The situation has reached a critical boiling point where the existing damage control strategies are completely useless against the sheer volume of negative content being generated every hour. The corporate infrastructure supporting the brand is showing severe signs of strain, and the whispers of a permanent collapse are growing louder by the day. As the digital world waits for the final shoe to drop, the conversation is naturally shifting toward the inevitable structural fallout, legal liabilities, and the impending institutional investigations that could turn this online circus into a very real legal nightmare. The corporate panic has officially entered the legal arena, and the whispers of behind-the-scenes chaos have transformed into concrete rumors of impending structural collapses. Industry insiders are now buzzing about high-stakes, emergency legal consultations taking place in the most exclusive law firms across Los Angeles and Atlanta. High-powered attorneys specializing in asset protection and crisis management have reportedly been put on retainer to prepare for what many believe will be a massive wave of contractual terminations and corporate investigations. The primary focus of these legal teams is the activation of standard morality clauses by major entertainment networks and corporate sponsors who are looking for any viable legal escape hatch. If mainstream television networks decide that the brand has become a permanent liability due to the non-stop negative digital press, they possess the right to suspend production or cancel syndication agreements entirely. This worst-case scenario would instantly cut off the massive revenue streams that fund the family's incredibly lavish lifestyle, creating an unprecedented financial crisis inside the empire. Amateur legal commentators online are already predicting a domino effect that could completely dismantle decades of hard work in a matter of months. They point out that the entertainment industry is notoriously ruthless when it comes to protecting its bottom line, and no amount of past success can save a star if the public backlash begins to affect advertising revenue. The threat of a coordinated corporate retreat has forced the family's inner circle into a highly defensive posture, with every single asset being reviewed for maximum protection. To make matters significantly worse, independent investigative journalists are now threatening to release a series of highly detailed exposes that promise to delve into the deepest secrets of the family's corporate tax filings and international business structures. These independent reporters claim to have found massive discrepancies in how charitable funds are handled across various foundations associated with the family name. While these allegations remain completely unverified, the mere threat of a financial probe has caused absolute panic among the administrative staff who manage the daily operations of the business. The public backlash has escalated to a point where mainstream media outlets are starting to pick up on the digital narrative, forcing public relations representatives to issue vague, carefully worded statements that do very little to satisfy the hungry internet crowd. The strategy of pretending the controversy does not exist is no longer an option, as the digital noise has effectively crossed over into the real world. Every time a representative tries to downplay the situation, the internet responds by flooding the digital space with even more unverified receipts and critical commentary. The psychological toll of this non-stop digital siege is said to be completely breaking the morale of everyone involved in the daily production of the star's media content. Production assistants, writers, and security personnel are reportedly operating under a climate of extreme paranoia, terrified that they will be accused of leaking sensitive information to the press. Sources claim that staff members are being subjected to mandatory cell phone checks and strict surveillance whenever they enter the private residence or the production sets. As the rumor mill continues to grind out new theories every hour, the conversation has naturally shifted toward the inevitability of a massive public reckoning. People are openly speculating about potential resignations from major corporate boards, the sudden cancellation of lucrative speaking tours, and the mysterious disappearance of high-end brand partnerships from the star's official digital profiles. The internet is actively rooting for a dramatic conclusion to this saga, treating the potential downfall of a Hollywood giant like the season finale of a highly addictive television drama. The irony of the entire situation is not lost on the public, who continue to use the star's own past motivational quotes to mock his current legal and personal vulnerabilities. Social media threads are filled with videos juxtaposing his famous speeches about staying strong in the face of adversity against current headlines, describing his alleged behind-the-scenes panic. This relentless weaponization of his own words has proven to be one of the most effective tools used by critics to completely erode his public authority as a life expert. Even the wider comedy community seems to be gradually shifting its stance, with several prominent figures dropping subtle hints during their own podcasts and live streams that the era of absolute protection for the industry's elite is officially over. This slow withdrawal of professional solidarity is a clear indication that the influence of the veteran entertainer is waning in the eyes of his peers. The collective perception is that he has been left to fight this massive public relations battle completely alone, without the backing of the powerful Hollywood networks that once shielded him from scrutiny. The financial markets are also reacting to the negative publicity, with companies that rely heavily on the star's endorsement seeing a noticeable increase in critical consumer feedback on their public platforms. Marketing firms are quietly conducting focus groups to determine if the average consumer still views the veteran host as a trustworthy figure for corporate branding. The preliminary results of these studies are rumored to be highly concerning, showing a significant drop in consumer confidence among the core demographic that has supported his career for decades. As the pressure reaches an absolute boiling point, rumors are circulating that a major television network is preparing to launch its own internal audit into the production practices of his daytime programs. This internal investigation is allegedly a direct response to the complaints regarding a toxic workplace environment that surfaced during the height of the digital backlash. If the audit uncovers any evidence of corporate mismanagement or employee mistreatment, it could provide the legal justification needed for the network to sever ties completely without paying a massive contract buyout. The potential legal liabilities extending from these combined controversies are staggering, and the family's legal team is reportedly working around the clock to draft preemptive defense strategies. Every single past business deal, property acquisition, and international partnership is being carefully scrutinized to ensure that it can withstand a full-scale public or legal investigation. The atmosphere inside the legal war room is described as incredibly tense, with everyone realizing that the survival of the multi-million-dollar empire hangs completely in the balance. The digital crowd remains completely insatiable, demanding a level of total transparency that no high-profile celebrity could ever realistically provide without exposing their entire private life to public mockery. The relentless demand for more drama has created a highly volatile environment, where even the smallest piece of unverified gossip can instantly spark a massive new wave of public outrage. The family is finding out that in the modern digital age, the court of public opinion does not require concrete evidence to pass a definitive judgment of guilt. As we watch this massive celebrity crisis unfold in real time, it becomes completely obvious that the old rules of Hollywood crisis management no longer apply in a world dominated by viral algorithms and independent content creators. The power to control the narrative has been completely stripped away from the traditional media gatekeepers and placed directly into the hands of millions of ordinary internet users. This fundamental shift in power is what makes the current predicament of the veteran entertainer so incredibly dangerous and fascinating to witness. The final chapter of this historic public relations disaster has not yet been written, but the structural damage that has already occurred is undeniably permanent. The pristine image of an unshakable power couple living a flawless, blessed life has been thoroughly shattered, replaced by a narrative of corporate fear, legal vulnerability, and intense internal friction. The digital world continues to watch with bated breath, completely locked in and waiting for the next explosive development that could officially bring down the entire curtain on the House of Harvey. This leaves us with one final unavoidable question that we all have to face. Are we witnessing the tragic, unfair dismantling of a legendary entertainer's legacy, or are we finally seeing the undeniable truth catch up to a carefully manufactured Hollywood illusion? The evidence floating around the digital space is getting harder to ignore every single day, and the silence from the inner circle is practically deafening. But as always, the real power belongs to you, the viewers. What do you honestly think about this escalating madness? Is Steve Harvey completely justified in his behind-the-scenes fury? Or has Katt Williams exposed a massive web of deception that was always bound to collapse? Do you believe the empire can actually survive this unprecedented wave of corporate panic and legal pressure? Or is the house of cards officially coming down? I want to hear every single one of your thoughts, so make sure to drop your theories in the comments section below. Let's get a massive debate going because this story is moving incredibly fast. If you want to stay completely ahead of the curve and get the absolute truth on these breaking celebrity investigations before anyone else, make sure to hit that like button right now. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned completely on. Thank you so much for locking in with us, and we will see you in the next explosive breakdown.